Hey friends, it's Mimi Jarena here with Keller Williams Realty Community Partners, and I have my friend Geoff Smith today with me with Assurance Financial. Thank you for meeting with me today.
My pleasure. It's always a pleasure to meet with you, Mimi.
Thank you, Geoff. Well, I wanted to have a quick conversation with you because here recently, and especially since the interest rates seem to climb, we have a saying as realtors, marry the house and date the rate. So you and I have been talking about this a little bit
Yeah.
more and to try to really quantify, is that meaning or that phrase really accurate? So I thought I'd do a video with you so we could share what your findings were.
Well, I love it, especially when the findings turn out in our favor, right? So, and that is something that's been said, and we've all been telling people, look, equity and home values are going to go up, and it's still better to buy now, even though rates are high. And I know a lot of times, people look back like, as if it's a self-serving comment or something like that. So you talked to me and we said, you know what, let's look at the numbers. Let's figure out, how do we quantify this? What are all the factors that go into it?
Mm-hmm.
And so I did. And so I have an amortization table, and I went in and I created a formula that I think does a pretty good job. And I'm going to share the screen here.
Oh,
And
wonderful. You know, I
like,
love this part, like really looking at it.
well, let's dive in. Be careful. There's a lot of numbers here. So what I did was I tried to make a comparison between buying today and then refinancing when rates get better. And I did
Mm-hmm.
that if rates got better, meaning, for, let's say I went really aggressive. Like, let's just say rates go absolutely down to 4.25% at some point in the future, which I think would be a pretty big drop. I don't think we're going to get back to down to that low, but let's just say we did, right? I'm trying to err on the side of making the numbers better. I'm trying not to make the case for what we're talking about. And so
Mm-hmm.
what I said was, if you buy the house now, and I just use an arbitrary rate of 6.75% for a 30-year fixed mortgage, and then let's just say in a year, um, rates go down to 4.25%. And so in this first scenario, we bought and then we refied in a year. In the second one, we waited and then we bought in a year. Okay. And so all I did was I added up all of the monthly payments that you would have made for the first 5 years, for example, for refinancing, then buying, plus, and then I added up the monthly payments if you waited and then bought in a year. So after 5 years, we made this much in monthly payments. And then we looked at the amortization table, and I said, okay, how much equity do you have? Now, in this situation, we're in Atlanta. So I used a very modest 5% annual increase in
Mm-hmm.
home value, right? And
Mm-hmm.
that's a average. And we're in a tight market right now. And who knows, once rates drop, we all know there's pent up demand, and it's going to probably go much higher than that. So I did a 5% and then a 10% right over here. And so basically what we said was, what happens, your total monthly payments, what is your equity, what is your property value, what is your principal balance of your loan in 5 years? So if we were going to sell your house in 5 years, what's that look like? And so number one, you're going to lose that equity right off the bat. You're losing the 5% increase in equity if you wait a year. And number two, you're paying higher interest, or you're paying interest on a higher loan amount. That's the thing people really don't take into account. Yeah, it's easy to say 5% increase, that's $20,000 right there you just lost. Um, Now let's also factor in the interest that you're paying on a higher loan amount. So if you add those up, basically you add these two and subtract this from this, looks like you have a $13,000 loss if you buy your house, if you wait a year and then sell it in 5 years. Look at this though. After 10 years at $16,000, and then 15 and 20, you start to peak at around $20,000. So most people sell their house after 10, 15 years, 7 to 10
Mm-hmm.
years.
Mm-hmm.
So that's if values only go up 5%. If they go up 10%, here's the losses here. 37,000 after 5 years, peaking at about $53,000 after 20 years. Those are some real numbers. I mean, that's nothing to sneeze at. And that is factoring in the closing costs you're going to incur by doing the refinance. So it's factoring in what I would consider some exorbitant closing costs. Now, if you do it for a 2-year model, right, the numbers are almost twice as big. The losses are almost twice as big. And one thing I'm not factoring in here is I am not factoring in the fact if you are a renter, I'm not
Mm.
adding up whatever your monthly payment is. Let's just say if you had 12 more monthly payments before you bought and you're throwing that money out the window, I'm not factoring that in. So I tried to be as cautious as I could, but as you can see, the numbers still make pretty good sense. And as in Atlanta, ever since 2012, there's never been a better time to buy than yesterday.
Right, because what I hear you saying too is the longer you wait and year over year, and the homes are continuing to increase in value and appreciate, that's what you're missing out on. As the buyer, you're missing the opportunity to have purchased to gain the asset for the appreciation.
That's exactly right. And that's an easy number to factor. In Atlanta, we are still voted every year the best place to do business in the country, which means there's more companies moving to Atlanta, the Atlanta area, than most other metropolitan areas in the country, which means we've got more people and workers moving to the area. And we all know we've got an inventory shortage, which means values, there's always going to be price pressure on values. Home builders just can't. When I was growing up in Roswell, Mimi, it was easy to find a $500 farm all of a sudden turn into a 1,000 home community. Well, they can't do that. There's not that much land anymore in Atlanta, so there's going to be the demand is going to far outweigh the supply for many years to come, unless everybody starts getting excited about 20-story condo towers in downtown Canton, which I don't think is going to happen anytime soon.
Right. Well, I really do appreciate you doing the numbers for me, because I know that we've talked about it for a minute. And when I say a minute, we've probably talked about it for months now. And
Yep.
just really, is that really accurate? Say it, you want to be able to show.
That's right. We want to make sure we're giving good advice. That's our number one job. And the minute we stop doing that, we kind of lose a lot of value. So it was my pleasure to do that. And to be honest, I've told other people about it as well. And it's an eye opening when you start to see the numbers spelled out like that.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for your time again. I'm Mimi Jarena with Keller Williams, and this is my friend Geoff Smith with Assurance Financial. And if you have any questions, I'll make sure you have our information below, and we'll talk to you soon.